Hello again to anyone who's listening. This is another installment of All Things Real. My name is Ken Buchanan. I'm a realtor with Century 21, where we examine pretty much anything real estate related in the San Francisco Bay Area. Today we have Todd Flesner. He's a senior loan advisor from Opes Advisors, and he's going to give us some valuable information about home loans, interest rates, predictions for this year. Also how restricted stock units could be used to try to increase your potential purchase price. So first of all, thanks a lot for being here today, Todd. Why don't we start with interest rates? I mean, sometimes we see things in the media that say, you know, interest rates are going to go up. Sometimes we say interest rates are going to go down. It sort of depends on the source of the news network. What is your feeling for this year?
Well, thanks again for the invite, Ken. Appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you. And yeah, that's the cocktail party question I get asked all the time. Where are interest rates today, and where are they headed in the future? Right now we're at historically low rates. Some of the lowest that I've seen in the 20 years that I've been doing loans. So the interest rate environment is very, very favorable. A number of factors kind of go into that equation in terms of the interest rate environment, and a lot of it is just the overall worldwide environment that we're in for interest rates. A lot of countries actually have lower interest rates. Their equivalent of our treasury bonds. Wow. In foreign countries actually have lower rates of return than we do. So our bonds are pretty attractive across the world. So we have some room actually to go down if we need to, but that's going to really be tied more to the overall economy. The Federal Reserve, oftentimes people will hear about the Federal Reserve changing interest rates, and that's an indicator of kind of where things are going with the economy. Yeah. If we start to see some economic slowdown, it's possible we could see interest rates a little bit lower. One of the market not procrastinators, but forecasters that I follow actually is calling perhaps for the Fed to maybe reduce rates again this summer.
Wow.
Yeah.
What are some of the numbers that we're seeing these days for fixed rates, fixed loans, 30-year?
Yeah, we're seeing fixed interest rates in the mid-3s right now.
Wow.
Which again, historically is amongst the lowest that I've seen. Now, sure. Yeah, I'm always cautious about quoting the exact rate because everybody's loan is different.
Sure.
Right? And the down payment, the credit scores,
down payment, there are a lot of issues, of course.
Exactly. And so, but the overall picture for interest rates is a very, very attractive market. And I think that we're in a long-term cyclical sort of cycle here for low interest rates.
Okay, well, that's great. That's good information. Yeah. Of course, for anybody that lives in the Bay Area, we know, compared to the rest of the country, that the median home price here is much higher than, just about every state in the nation. And of course, that makes it tough for anybody who's trying to buy a home, especially first-time home buyers. A lot of people still believe they have to come up with 20% down in order to buy a home, which of course for a median priced home, if we think even just $1 million, I mean that's not small money, $200,000. Your company, however, does have programs for certain professions where we can go much lower than 20%. We can use things like restricted stock units. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about those programs.
Yeah, absolutely. We're a Bay Area company originally, and so we know this market intimately, and we know the challenges that people have with getting into a home here. And one of the biggest challenges I see is around the down payment. Yeah. People make good incomes. Folks have good credit history, but if you're renting and trying to make ends meet on a day-to-day basis, as you mentioned, a $200,000 down payment, that can be a real challenge. So we've actually engineered some loan products to address that specific challenge and that issue for people. So we have a couple of loan programs. You mentioned our professional loan program. for certain professions, registered nurses, doctors, dentists, veterinarians, pharmacists, CPAs, and there are a couple of other professionals. Well, I'll get to high tech in a second.
Sure, of course.
But for those specific professions, we actually have a zero down loan program.
Yeah,
for you to get into a home for up to $850,000 with no down payment. And we have some other unique characteristics of that loan program that are engineered for first-time home buyers. So you have to be in the first 10 years of your profession. You have to be a first-time home buyer. But we've also structured it so that reserves, we require reserves oftentimes with larger loans, but the reserve requirements are less. So only 3 months reserves are required. Again, good income.
Maybe you can also explain to everybody what you mean by reserves.
Yeah, good clarification. Reserves, the bank wants to make sure that if you have a hiccup, the water heater goes out or something happens along the way, that you're not a month away from missing your next mortgage payment.
Sure, right.
So they want to make sure that you have the capacity to be able to have at least 3 months worth of making your mortgage, taxes, and insurance payments in reserves, in case of an emergency. They don't think you need to use it. They don't require you to use it, but they want it there just in case. The future is an uncertain place, and life happens. And so that's a safety margin for you as a homeowner, so that you're not, a paycheck away from losing your home.
Sure.
So again, this special program we have for these professionals, 0 down to 850, that'll get you into a nice starter condo.
Sure.
Here in the Bay Area.
Absolutely. And of course, in other parts of the Bay Area, in Alameda County, in Contra Costa County, we're even talking single family homes.
Absolutely. And this loan program, this professional loan program, I can do this nationwide. So it's not restricted just to the Bay Area.
Good.
Throughout California and across the country, I can do this. Now, specifically for our Bay Area friends, we have a program that's really tailored to tech and folks who may not be in those professional categories. And so we'll do a 5% down payment up to $1 million in loan amount. So you couple that with a $50,000 down payment at $1 million, that gets you into about $1.05 million in-house for 5% down. Same 3-month reserve, good credit, good income history required. Now, a bonus with that is we can accept gifts as a piece of that equation as well. So if you have a family member, parents, whatever, that want to help you with that, we can do that. We'll go to $1.5 million at 10% down. So we can stretch that to even higher purchase prices, so about 1.6 with 10% down, which is just beyond the median home price. If you're thinking 1.25, 1.3, kind of for the average home here in San Jose, Silicon Valley area, that will help accomplish that with a low down payment.
Yeah, that's
so
great.
A lot of flexibility built into these programs. These are not the loan programs that we saw back in 2006, 7, and 8, where you were fogging a mirror and able to get a loan. These require you to have strong income history and the ability to show that you've got good credit as well. 710 credit score required as a minimum.
Okay, which isn't really that high. I mean, 710 is a good score, but not that high. And I mean, if people do the math, they might find there's not such a difference, than what they're already paying rent. The monthly mortgage payment might be just a little bit more than what they're paying rent. So I mean, here's an opportunity to earn equity and get out of the rent trap.
Well, I think really if you boil it down to, okay, if you're renting and you have a goal of buying a home, you've got to be putting money away on a monthly basis anyhow to be able to get that down payment.
Sure.
This enables you to make that happen now. So instead of saving money, you can actually buy a home, and now you're on the path to gaining equity in the future as your property appreciates.
Mhm.
So a lot of times what I'll do with home buyers or potential home buyers is we'll take a look at what does that equation look like, because there is maybe perhaps a little bit of a sticker shock, right? Because you're going to be paying a little bit more than you are on rent. But I like to try to help people take a look at the long-term view of that, because what does that really mean for your net worth? How does owning real estate, how does that, as a part of your now portfolio, not only do you need a place to live, but it's also a great investment. And so we can help people take a look at how does that play out for them? How do the current tax laws impact you in your particular situation? Is there a benefit? Is there, now you mentioned RSUs earlier.
Yeah, I was just about to get into that, because I know that many of the commercial banks don't always like to include the restricted stock units, what we say the RSUs. A lot of times they just want to, look at straight income and debt. But again, companies like yours, a little bit more flexible, and explain the way the program works exactly.
Sure. RSUs, restricted stock units. Many of the tech companies here in the Valley have a portion of compensation for their employees in the form of stock. And those stock grants are restricted, so they'll have future grants, and they're a way to keep and help retain their employees, and also reward them for making the company better, more profitable.
Sure.
So it's a win-win sort of situation. Now, as you mentioned, a lot of banks won't allow you to use RSUs because they don't show up in your paycheck per se, right? You are taxed on those as they're granted. So you pay your income tax as those are granted. However, it's not in your paycheck on a biweekly basis like your regular salary is. But we'll allow you to use that income that you receive from that stock as a part of your compensation. Now, we require a 2-year history, and we require a 3-year continuance of that. So we get a couple of documents to support that. We'll get a copy of your issuance agreement, and we'll get a copy of the vesting schedule. So folks who get RSU are familiar with those documents.
Sure,
and,
yeah.
So we put all that together, and we verify that, that's a viable way for us to ensure that you can afford the mortgage that you're looking to get on that property. So a lot of flexibility there as well. So we've engineered products really to help folks who live and work here in this Bay Area to be able to afford a home. Sure. and to look at things in a unique perspective that, if you went to one of the online lenders that's located out of state, they don't get this market.
Right. Yeah. It is.
They don't understand how things are here. Exactly, yeah. In the Bay Area.
Right.
So if you want to, talk to somebody at, at some phone bank in the Midwest who doesn't get it, again, we're working with folks whose situations are unique to this area, and we're accustomed to that, comfortable with that, and can help people look at what their options are.
Okay, good. Okay. Well, thanks again for your time. Thanks for answering our questions. And again, to anybody who's listening today, if you have any questions about how you can use RSUs to help increase your purchase price, possibly if your profession is included in the Zero Down program, don't be afraid to reach out either to me or Todd Flesner. His contact information, again, with Opus Advisors is going to be in the link. My contact information is going to be there. So thanks for listening. And again, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to reach out. Thanks again. Thanks for your time, Todd.
Thanks, Ken.